When I was in college, one of my Old Testament professors we were talking about like First Chronicles. He asked, why would God put like 9 chapters of just a census pretty much in the Bible? Like, why would that be considered important? And someone raised their hand and they said, suspense. I thought that was one of the funniest things in the world, so now every time I read it, I think of that. But also, every time I post one of these, you're probably like, why would Amber wait so long to make a video? Suspense. The suspense is over. I have returned with another mediocre video. So... So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about healthy grieving and what that looks like. I think that it's easy to forget that there are healthy ways of grieving. So I don't have a whole lot of experience and I'm not the healthiest of grievers. But I think that there are some tools that I have learned that I would like to share with you. First, they say that it takes about 6 months to actually fully grieve something. And I think that it's important for us to remember that we're not the anomaly. We're not the exception to the rule. It's easy for us to think that like when we are in seasons of grieving, when we are experiencing a lot of hurt, we would like to think that we're the only ones who have ever felt this way. We'd like to think that we're the only ones who are experiencing this. We're the only ones who understand what's going on. So therefore, it would be easy for us to think, I'm the exception to all the rules, but you're not an exception to the grieving rule. If you try to avoid grief, if you're like, I'm just not gonna grieve, this dream that I had dying, that the Lord has told me to wait, that I'm losing control of my life, not in a negative way, losing control, like you're just like, you've lost your mind, you're going crazy. But seasons of waiting teach us that we're not the ones that are in control. And we don't get to be the boss of our own life. Instead, the Lord shows us that through seasons of waiting, He's the one in control. And we have to sometimes just grieve that we've lost control. We don't get to be in charge. And that's okay. Someone I know has used the analogy that a toddler is really hungry or really angry, or they just want you to pay attention to them. If you just tell them to like go off in their corner and like do their own thing, they're probably not going to do that. I do know that trying to just get them to go away when they want something is like a really good recipe for them getting louder and louder and louder until they get what they want. And I believe that our emotions are the same way. If you tell the process of grieving to go away, that you're not going to pay attention to it, that you're just going to move on with your life and do your own thing, that process is going to get louder and louder and louder. And it will make sure you hear it. Maybe you're avoiding grieving and now you're depressed. And you're like, I just don't know why. I just can't get out of bed. Everything's so gray and sad. Maybe you're avoiding the process of grieving and you're really anxious all the time. Maybe your relationships are really strained. Maybe you're just angry, which is interesting because most of those things are actually part of the process of grieving. But if we just avoid it altogether, then that process looks a lot more unhealthy than it needs to be. So if you need to be grieving, tip 1, just embrace it. Just realize, hey, I'm going to be grieving this, and it's okay. It's okay to honor your emotions. It's okay to feel those things. It's not okay to ignore where your heart is. It's not okay for you to tell your heart that it doesn't matter. Biblically, we're told, above all else, guard your heart, for from it flows the issues of life. We also hear, from the heart the mouth speaks. The things that are in your heart are important, and they're going to come out. I mean, your heart's trying to tell you things. We've already talked about this in emotional intelligence. Your heart's trying to talk to you. You should listen, and that's not an exception for when you're grieving. So, tip 1, just go ahead and accept the grieving process.